I wanted to make this very short one-shot tutorial on how to do Ragdoll effect in Unreal Engine 5. I've seen a lot of people asking this question on Reddit and forums, but I couldn't really find one post that were really going through the entire process or videos that were explaining what to do once the body is on the floor. A lot of solutions proposed had issues like the character going through the floor, the character floating, this kind of things that were solved sometimes with very unoptimized solutions like playing the same animation frame over and over again or swapping to a static mesh. And because I'm doing a multiplayer game, I need something that's replicatable, that works on every client. Every client sees the same thing and the server is aware of it. So this is my solution. Here we have a very easy test scene where there is 4 characters that are going to walk toward me once they see me. If I shoot at them, they will kind of like fall in their step, following their velocity and kind of like falling on the floor like this. Once they're on the floor, their collision is completely disabled, so they're not a problem for navigation anymore. Their tick is disabled, so they're basically as cheap as it can get. So how it is done? Here in the pawn itself, so it's a character class, which is very important. Character class have a few caveats that you need to be aware of when you're dealing with them. So the first thing we do is obviously to set the simulate physics mode to on, turn on this boolean here. Set simulate physics will trigger the ragdoll mode for your characters. You do this on your mesh. And then what I did is to play a montage of a death animation. Why I'm doing this, it's not 100% necessary, but it does add a little bit of momentum when the character is about to die, kind of like throwing its limbs in a near-death animation, which creates more diversity when you have many of them dying at the same time. Then, as it's blending out but not fully blended, I set this boolean, which just says is dead, and set it to true. And this will be important later when we move to the animation blueprint. Once the animation is completed, I set the simulate physics back to off to make sure that it doesn't continue its physics simulation. I set the movement mode to custom, and that was very, very interesting when I found out. Basically, if you keep it in walking animation movement mode, it will always follow physics. So even if you disable the collision, even if you do anything, the character class has this hard-coded that will follow the movement mode and will fall through the ground. So by setting it to custom, even if you disable the collisions later, it will stay in its place and it will not move anywhere. Then I disable the collisions on the actor, which doesn't fully work on the character class because Unreal has this hard-coded that the collision is always going to be enabled on the character capsule. And that's what we're fixing here. So we keep the collisions on the character capsule, but we set the type to be no collision. So the collision itself exists, but it will not interact with anything or anyone. And then we disable the tick to make sure that this object is basically inert and it's not going to affect the performance that much more than the rendering cost. Then if we move to the animation blueprint, here I'm blending the poses based on this is dead boolean that is set in the character. And I'm blending from my normal animation locomotion poses to this thing. So the copy pose from mesh will take the last known state of the mesh and will freeze it in this spot. So it will freeze it, and whatever pose it was when the is dead has been activated, the pose will stay like this forever, basically. So that's it. It's a very, very simple process, but those few nodes in this specific order allow me to have as many creatures as I want. When I shoot them, they fall on the ground, their collision is disabled, and they keep their momentum, they don't go through the floor, and as you can see, it works really well. So that's it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. I can make a more complete videos if there is demand for it. Thank you.